This video is sponsored by Skillshare. I made this scene using 24,000 monkey models. The monkey's name is Suzanne, and she comes with every copy of Blender, the 3D software. The only rule is that everything in our scene must be our monkey. So this cube, nah, can't have that. It's all monkeys all the time. This is the scene that I'm going to use as reference. And I chose this because it's kind of lovely. I want the journey of whoever's watching this to be a slow burn from delight, and then there's a slow realization, and then ultimately we end in horror. I would normally start a scene like this by blocking everything out with cubes. But in the spirit of the challenge, I kind of feel like we should use something else. Can you guess what it is? 3D artists generally use Suzanne to test their shaders and effects, but this just scratches the surface of what Suzanne is capable of. So I think really my best trick is the Suzanne smush. It just helps a lot to make her flat. So to start, this is going to be like really weird and bad looking. And probably honestly to end, it will also be really weird and bad looking. So there's our ground. And I find the key to a good block in, at least at the beginning, not using your brain too much. It just needs to be like, all right, there's a thing here, there's a thing here, there's a thing here, and then you can go back and refine it. This is doubly true when you're doing a Suzanne block in. I don't want to be stressing about how to make Suzanne look like a building. At least not yet. I feel that I'm having the slow realization that this is going to take a lot of Suzannes. And that makes me concerned, specifically for my computer. It might be getting angry at me, but my computer works for me. I'm not going to let my computer tell me what to do. But seriously, I did need to find a solution for this. All these Suzannes can really slow things down. And I think this is like really backlit. Like the sun is coming right over the buildings here. It's got sort of this dusky vibe. At this stage, I'm focusing on the composition and color. I want to have this figured out before I get too far into the details. That way later I can focus more on Suzanne. Kind of looks like a cactus. I don't know, dusk is a more subtle lighting condition than I'm used to. Usually I'm just doing pow, direct sunlight. 3D makes it super simple to create mathematically perfect lighting. So it's easy to forget that you actually can do whatever you want. There's a surprising amount of wiggle room for you to break the rules. And then maybe we'll do like a spotlight. So this is just sort of exaggerating what the sun is already doing, but just like in a really specific area. Yeah, we're gonna warm that up. That's kind of awesome. I wanted a big cast shadow on the road in the foreground. I don't know, we may have to have a mega Suzanne. We've all been there. It may sound kind of silly, but the whole concept of this video is the result of me being thoughtful and strategic about my creative career. And right now I'm putting a ton of effort into growing my creative career into something that's durable and sustainable, which is why I'm glad my guy, Andy J. Pizza, has this series of creative career classes on Skillshare. I've been rewatching his class, Make Creativity Your Career, and it's just been a crucial reminder that if you want to make a living doing creative work, having a thoughtful strategy makes a big difference. Self-reflection like this is deceptively challenging, but actually taking the time to figure out what makes you unique and what your goals are can create such clarity and confidence. It's just one of thousands of classes on Skillshare taught by world-class creatives and spanning categories like art and illustration, animation, and productivity. This variety is super handy because for a stylized 3D artist, a watercolor class can be just as useful as a 3D animation class. The first 500 people to use my link in the description or scan the QR code will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Get started today. All right, back to monkeys. And I wonder if we could do better in terms of composition than like this perfectly centered. Ooh, that's kind of diabolical. What if I zoomed in? This is my favorite trick for creating less work for myself. You just crop in. Next, I added a bit of a gradient in the sky. I just had an annoying thought though. Does this have to be Suzanne? Somehow? Should the sun be Suzanne? I decided the answer was yes, but that was a problem for later. I'm gonna need a lot of Suzanne walls, and rather than making those over and over again, I think I'm gonna make a Suzanne wall system, a procedural asset that I can randomize and reuse. Someone suggested this in a comment section somewhere. This means I'm gonna do something that may offend you. I'm gonna start with the plane. But ultimately, this is going to be only Suzanne. Oh, and this is also going to be just really helpful for performance. Just because I don't know at what point thousands of Suzannes are going to start slowing down my computer, but I assume it's going to come. This is a classic, an absolute classic GeoNode setup. Our plane is now a bunch of random points, and at each one of those points, we're going to put a squished Suzanne. And if we have enough Suzannes, it's going to look like a wall. Yeah. This is exactly what I wanted. My dreams are becoming a reality. Wow, I hate that. That's so good. So I think we can make each Suzanne instance a slightly different color. And that, in my estimation, is going to give us more of a painterly look. A little bit more of an impressionist kind of thing. Part of the reason it kind of gets so brushstrokey is because I'm using, in the compositor, a Kuwahara filter, which is just a painterly blur. And I have a video on that on my Patreon. All right, let's get this going now. Let's get some roofs in here. Okay, so let's make the railing. So in geometry nodes, I took the line that I drew and placed points along it. Then at every point, I placed a stretched Suzanne. I used both vertical and horizontal monkeys for this. That feels nice to me. Next, we're gonna tackle the windows. It's gonna be a big leap forward because windows are the eyes of buildings. What I mean by that is that they're important to what they look like. There's a wide variety of window shapes here. I'm keeping it simple. I'm just gonna do one window shape and then I'll maybe do the shutters too. I wish I had a different way of doing this just to keep things fun, but once again, I think the best strategy is just a good old-fashioned smush. Just stretch Suzanne until she looks like a window. I don't like that. I think it needs to be just simpler, maybe. The detail is too high frequency and it just looks kind of bad. You know what? I don't care. They're shaped like this. I was going to try to get it to be a square shape. I don't care. This is the shape that it is. And I think we're all just going to live with it. It does look kind of bad, though. Does look kind of bad. I think I'm allowed to do a little sculpting, right? There's no way for you to stop me, so. The lighting felt a little flat. For example, these are two separate walls, but they kind of feel like they're part of the same shape. I wanted more contrast. I was gonna do it by adding more lights, but that was gonna be too much work. Thankfully, there's this ray tracing checkbox. I could just turn on ray tracing and it would solve a lot of problems. Ray tracing helps simulate how light bounces around, which gave me more variety in the color of each surface. Yeah, we're going with that. Okay, great. So let's get the windows. And honestly, I'm doing my absolute best to not care about these windows. Sometimes you just have to force yourself to not worry about it and just get stuff in there and then fix it later. Because I know that I am very prone to just like rotating around and thinking, but sometimes you just gotta do it. I want to try to get these bricks. I want to try to get Suzanne bricks on the road. I think that's cool. Oh, there are cars. That's okay. How hard would it be to make a Suzanne car? But I'll worry about that later. For the bricks, I used a similar technique to the walls. The big difference was that I placed them on a grid instead of randomly. The more complicated part is I want to offset the rows. And by complicated, I don't think it's maybe not complicated. I was going to try to explain the math, but I don't think I even understand what I did. I feel that there are many problems with my math here, and I'm realizing I don't care. From a glancing angle, this actually does look pretty good, pretty much how I wanted it. So I think I'll be able to just work with it. I think so much of working in 3D is half understanding things and then being really willing to engage in some trial and error. You don't have to know everything. I added color variation to the bricks and gave each one some random rotation. I was losing steam at this point, but I kept realizing that there was more to do. The sidewalk. Just so much of me doesn't want to. I decided to copy and paste a bunch of flat Suzannes until it felt close enough to a sidewalk. Look at the density of these house meshes. That's what we like to see. Next was the streetlight. Right, so yeah, if I make Suzanne upside down, she already kind of has sort of a streetlight pole proportion. Thick at the bottom, thin at the top. I wanted to have some atmosphere, so I added some fog. Things get foggier as they get farther away. I want to see some stuff in the background, I think. Mostly because it feels so empty and kind of dead. I'm not even going to try to make Suzanne into a building in the background. It's just going to be Suzanne. And I'm counting on the fact no one's going to look over there. We do need plants. So here's my idea. We take Suzanne and we fill her with tinier Suzannes that are randomly rotated and scaled, and then she'll look like a tree, just like she always dreamed of. You get to be a tree, Suzanne. Looks like a tree to me. I'm just trying to get as much mileage out of these plants as possible. It was time for the Suzanne sun, which was really just a glowing mega Suzanne. It's just there to create the bloom on the houses. Next was the lights on the pink building. Yeah. I turned Suzanne into a light bulb using an emission shader. It was finally time to circle back to the cars. I kind of felt like I could get away with just subtly sculpting Suzanne into a vague car shape. Are you buying it? Is a car to you? Okay, we're going to do something unprecedented, something that's never been done in the history of Suzanne. So we know she has these two eyes, and they are disconnected. Kind of like wheels. I still need to find a car in here. I decided to go with two Suzanne chins, one big and one small. I think it's really cute. Okay. I'm actually pretty proud of that. Next, we're going to do clouds. So I'm just going to build off of, I have an existing cloud generator, and we just need to swap the cubes for our little monkey friend. That's insane. That's crazy. Okay, I'm not changing that at all. I'm actually really surprised at how much I like the final product. I think it's just exciting to know that even with absurd limitations, you can still make something that's kind of lovely. So I guess the moral is work with what you got, right? What can you do with the skills and tools you already have? It's probably something cool, even if you just have monkeys. All right. Thanks so much for watching. I got a Patreon with tutorials on how to make stylized 3D art. I got a Discord server. If you like this video, you'll love this other video where two professional visual development artists and I make 3D Pokemon in 1 hour. All right, goodbye.